Hi traders, and welcome to the strategy segment on my channel. So today we're going to be talking about tails and the absence of tails on the 15-minute candlestick of Bitcoin. So first let's go over what a tail is and what it means. So tails will form when a lower tail will form when price travels downward, and then buyers push the price back up, and then it closes higher than its low. And the same can be said for a higher tail, as you can see here. Price moved upward a little bit more, and then price was pushed down and not allowed to beat that high again, and then price moved downward. So that's how tails work. And tails are very good indicators for finding momentum, support, and resistance when trading Bitcoin. So let's look at our first example. We can see here that many tails have been formed. We had this lower tail, this tail here, and this tail here, and this caused a support point that had price bounce up from about 24.50, we can call that 24.60, to about 25.60. It's about a $100 move from here to here that you could have caught if you had seen all these tails. We can also see a smaller tail, but a tail nonetheless right here, where we had seen a bearish candle here with a tail above here that showed that the bears were taking control and the price was likely to move downward. And the most important point about tails is to notice if they're respected or not. And this tail was respected. What I mean by that is that the high here of this tail was never beaten on candlesticks after or before here. Price did not move higher than this, rather it consolidated and then eventually moved lower, which showed a lot of strength in this downtrend right here, until it formed back into an uptrend with these tails here. And in these two examples here, you can see the same exact thing. With fading bearish momentum, we can see that a tail formed here, two tails really, and a doji candle with a high upper tail, and then this price action formed right here. And the same can be said here, but this one's much more clear cut. Price moves downward, is partially rejected, and then price does not go near that tail again and moves upward instead. So you could have bought around here and made a nice profit. And same here, you could have bought around probably here-ish and made a nice profit up here. So let's go over some more tails. This is a point of resistance right up here where you had seen price climb here, get rejected, to move to that same level again, then to get rejected lower, and then it moved there again, but this time with a tail at resistance. And this showed a lot of bearish momentum and bearish power, where as this tail formed, we can see that many buyers are being rejected and the sellers are beginning to take control. And as a result of this, we had this fall off right here that was quite violent, from about 26.60 down to 2,500 on a $160 loss in the value of Bitcoin. So this pattern is very important to look out for, to see a tail form at resistance here. You can also see this tail form at support as well. Now let's look at some more examples. We can see in these two examples that we would have great buying opportunities. We had seen price make a much lower tail, but then move upward and close actually above the open. This is the open price, this was the low, and this was the high, and the high was the close price. So this showed a lot of bullish momentum right here. And if we had seen that a bid wall had formed, this is going to order flow analysis now, but if we had seen that a bid wall had formed and trading volume was positive and MFI is oversold, which it is, then this would be a fantastic buying opportunity. And if I had been awake at 1:30 in the morning, I could have bought here and caught this. So now we've covered tails, lower tails and upper tails, as you can see here and here, that show where price is rejected at and how price is likely to move in the other direction of the tail. For example, lower tail, price moves upward as a rule of thumb. Higher tail, price moves downward. Now let's go back and talk about the absence of tails and what that means for price action. So when price doesn't make a tail, that shows very strong momentum in that direction. So let's take a look right here. We had seen that price had moved up from this tail formed here, consolidated a bit, and then had a sharp move downward of about 1.5%. And no tails had formed on this, making this a very strong bearish move. As you can see right here, this is what it would have looked like in real time. And looking at this move is quite strong and signals that price will very likely be moving downward. And as you can see, it did. And then we can see the price picked up when we had seen that there were bullish candlesticks that did not have tails in the other direction. So as you can see here, and then most importantly here, we can see that the bulls began to get control with these no tail, just body candlesticks that propelled price upward. So we can look back and see more examples of this, as you can see here especially. After this consolidation period at the high of resistance, you can see that these bodies have begun to form. This one, and most importantly, this one, which was the impulse move, the beginning of the downtrend that broke through support. And right here, if we were at this point, this looks quite bearish, because when we see price moving downward with no lower tails, we know that the sellers are in full control of the price right now, and that the buyers are not really that active. And that can also be confirmed here, where price barely moved upward, which is a reflection of how little power the buyers had at this point. We can also see it here. No candlestick, strong sized bearish candlestick that created this. But we can also see that this was rejected eventually, and that this had been a very strong bearish move to the downward, but then we had seen that it was rejected by this formation right here. And that if you had seen this form off of this downtrend, you could be reasonably confident that we might hit resistance again or higher. But in this case, we just hit resistance. So let's look back at more examples of these candlesticks that do not have any tails. And we can see a fantastic example right here, actually, where price had moved upward and then retraced a bit. And then we see this candlestick form right here that has no tail and is just a very strong bullish move of plus 0.8%, just about. And looking at this move, we can see that buying here would not be a terrible idea, as the bullishness of this rejection of this price pattern right here shows that resistance will likely be hit again, just like in the example I showed before. And if we had bought here at around 24.25, we could have made about a 75 to 80, 85 appreciation in the value of Bitcoin. And also, if we had held it, price would have moved much higher. We would have made a lot more money over here. So this move right here was very important in creating the impulse move for the rest of the trend. It's very important to look for these kinds of moves after a tail has formed. So I know this example, price didn't move up that much, but I still want to isolate this because it's a really bullish pattern that you can see a lot of times. So price makes a low tail. This is rejected as the buyers are in control, and price moves upward. And then you see a strong sized plus 3.4% bullish candle that has no tails and just moves upward. And from this move right here, we can see that this is very bullish, this pattern right here. From lower tail to strong no tail move, we can infer that price will very likely continue to go upward, which it did. And if you had bought here at around 23.64, you could have gotten all the way to about 24.45. So that would actually be a very, very nice profit. It doesn't really look like it'd be a great profit, but that's just because of the volatility of the Bitcoin at this time, which was June 15th. But in reality, this is actually a lot more money than it looks like. So I hope you guys have learned something about tails and the lack of tails and what that means for price action. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Thank you.